we are trained across the board to be ahistorical. We
Yeah.
do not. We want to really, and there's the mode of analysis thing. In these historical moments, the eschatological and the material analysis become intertwined. You cannot talk about this in any other way without harkening back, as we are doing right now when we rarely do it, harkening back to things that might be considered in the domain of metaphysical almost. And I feel like that being outcasted from overall analysis is the issue that landed Trump and Hegseth and these guys into this place.
Exactly. And is the flaw in the mode of analysis of even a lot of sympathetic Westerners. Because there is a lack of understanding, there's an epistemological difference, right? And this is interesting because when you look at the origins of the Islamic revolution and this revolutionary spirit and ethos during the colonial period, right, with the colonial encounter between the West and the Muslim world, you see one thing that so this is emerging from the Enlightenment period in the West, right, where you have ideas of liberalism, capitalism, nationalism on the rise, fueled by the material power of the West's capitalism and its imperialism. And with this concept of liberalism, when I say liberalism, a lot of times the word liberalism in America is associated with like the Democratic Party, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat. I'm talking about liberalism in the more philosophical sense of the term. The centering of individual liberty as the paramount ideal. When that comes in contact with the Islamic world, in Islam, the paramount ideal is not individual liberty, it's the sovereignty of God over everything. It's God being sovereign over the dominion of all of existence. There's a fundamental clash there, right? And these things can coexist in their spheres if everybody leaves each other alone. But when the West then says, hey, we need to dominate these people, and looks down on them because, and now you can see this kowtowing into human rights claims, right? They don't let individuals have the liberty that they want to do, to rock whatever aesthetic they want. A misunderstanding of what the high ideals are for different societies, right? And the inability of the West, whether it's somebody like Donald Trump or whether it's somebody who is a Western leftist who is against empire, against imperialism, against capitalism, and who doesn't want to see a war on Iran, who didn't want to see a war on Iran, who wants to see liberation. Even there, the flaw in the mode of analysis is not understanding that there is a fundamental epistemological difference that underlies that, where God, you can think that this is like, ooh, God. God is the foundational source of knowledge. God is the beginning, God is the middle, God is the end. It's all God. And people operating on that paradigm can then do things like not fear death, embrace death, live a life in such a meticulous way that they are saying that, hey, we're living our life in such a meticulous way that this will lead to the glorious death. Preparing for death and curating their life day by day, moment by moment, to be able to pull that off. And the aesthetics of that are going to look different. You see in Orientalist writings from the French in the 1800s how they talk about, or even the British, or even the Americans, how they talk about the, Muslims being, barbarians, and their women dress like this, and they're this and that, making fun of the aesthetics, making fun of the way the language sounds. That people were I'm not necessarily sympathizing with Zoran Mamdani, but this guy's eating with his hands. You remember that critique, right? The hubris and the arrogance that comes with the looking down on other people who do things in a different way. When you yourself are coming from the point of view of the individual is the highest, individual liberty and the individual rights are the highest ideal, where you yourself think you're a god. And looking down on people like that, people who are saying, hey, we understand that life is more than just me and what I want. I'm not just an animal. I'm a higher being. And with that comes higher purpose. The fact that we have the ability to think rationally, separating us from the rest of creation, animals, etc. What comes with that is a certain decorum of living. It's certain, and that's not to say that everybody who's Muslim is perfect, right? There are all kinds of cultural issues and all kinds of other issues. But when you look at what the Islamic revolution is in that context, in its civilizational context, as something that is trying to free that part of the world from the clutches of a system that is trying to convince everybody that they are God. Being liberated by a revolution that's running on a system that is saying, hey, there is a higher sovereign under which we are all the same. But as insignificant as that may make it seem that we are, it also means that we all are very, very significant. There comes back to the quote that Imam Ali had. I don't want to butcher it. Within you, there's a...
The whole, I mean, to paraphrase, the whole universe resides within you, or something lies within you.
Right. And so this civilizational nature of this needs to be taken into account. Now, you mentioned eschatology, right? Even the end narrative of capitalism, you want to live a good, fulfilled life where you've made a lot of money, etc., etc.
Pull up a chair. Man?
Pull up. Versus the eschatology of Islam, where you want to have a dignified life that puts you in a position where you have lived in alignment with God's way, and there is a certain future for that. But also, then when you zoom out and when you zoom in a little bit and look at just the world, right, and you have the Islamophobia where who was it? Hegseth or J.D. Vance was like, these guys are like fundamental radicals, and I think they mentioned something, they're like they're end time radicals or something like that. When Israel itself is trying to like slaughter red heifers to bring the Messiah back, and
Trump's beefing with the Pope,
Trump's beefing with the Pope, it just goes to show there's such a huge gap here. And my point in like, I guess like the rant that I went on for the past couple minutes is that people really need to take like perspective into account. Come through. People really need to take perspective into account when they're looking at what's going on in the world, especially in the West. Now, where there's the spotlight on Shia Islam, this is something where it's a really good opportunity for people in the West to liberate themselves from these Western constructs. It doesn't mean you have to become a Muslim or a Shia Muslim or anything, right? But just to understand that the limitations of the paradigm that we are in here. And I think if people in the West, sympathetic people in the West, can catch up to that, you can have a resurgence of the kind of internationalism that you saw in the 60s and 70s. The difference is at that time, the internationalist movement was communist. Now, let's be real, the vanguard of revolution internationally is Shia Islam or Islam broadly. And that requires us, it's more difficult to have solidarity there, right? Because again, there are different paradigms. One is a very self-centered, individualistic paradigm. The other requires you to at least admit that there could be some sort of broader cosmology out there.
Yeah, and I think that's where this black and white nature of analyses, and I mean, it's even lesser than like, hey, it's material analysis or something more metaphysical. It's literally like you having to rely on conventional wisdom to diagnose a serious issue. Right now, the Islamabad talks that were going on between the U.S. and Iran, and defaulting to the negative, oh, nothing's going to happen ever, and everything is bad, and then America's going to go and nuke everyone, and Israel is going to do this. Defaulting to the negative to make your point and relying on conventional wisdom as a basis of your premises. Conventional wisdom that is ahistorical and irreligious. So you are basing your your analysis on what exactly? On either news, which I really doubt most people, I think we can co-sign, right now getting a lot of their news from Twitter, Instagram,
Social media,
stuff like that, and your education. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, if you are relying on your high school government class as your basis of analyzing what's going on in the world,
you're cooked.
And I mean, you're cooked. And I'm talking about if you are like in high school doing that, you are cooked. You should know this. Like, I mean, maybe in high school already, you should know like what they're teaching you right now. This is not like it's not even par for the course for elementary school. Frankly, the type of like, I mean, I'm trying to remember when I was going through history or Texas government or government, some of the things that they will say, you know, that matter, some of the things that try to teach you, some of the terminologies, and it's like this has nothing to do with anything. This is all exercise of futility, honestly, in trying to remember some crap about Sam Houston so you know who they named the Beltway after. Like it's the big issue in the analyses of even people we agree with. Some person can say, hey, I agree with you on 100% of things, and you know, America's all bad, Iran's all good, and then same guy will then defend Muhammad Khatami to you.
Yeah,
same guy will then be like, hey, well, even though Khatami is not, I mean, again, a lot of the opposition.
By the way, Muhammad Khatami is a former president of Iran.
Two-time president?
I believe two-time president, and he had espoused a neoliberal economic philosophy, a neoliberal economic policy to try to get.
If you want, pull up the chair there and just widen the lens. We had already discussed hopping you on.
You just literally, it's recording right now. You're cool. Just jump in.
You can see the angle here.
Yeah, pull the camera back.
Yeah, I'll let you adjust it while we're talking.
It's okay. Don't be shy.
Yeah. It's the OG crowd. It's okay.
Yeah.
You were part of the first episode. You're part of the last of season 4.
So yeah, Khatami was basically somebody who was a president of Iran who was super down to parlay with the West, completely breaking the ethos of the Islamic Revolution. And with that came an erosion of, I think, that revolutionary ethic in even the Iranian population, which set the stage for a lot of, for the ability for the West to infiltrate culturally and ideologically into the Iranian population and give the revolution a hard time, right?
And honestly, from the we can talk about the rationale. None of this is irrational. When you see something like the USSR fall, the conventional wisdom will say, hey, again, if you take away history, if you take away spirituality, not that I'm not accusing Muhammad Khatami of that. I'm saying if you are to do that, then the natural response of any person will be, if the US and USSR fought this Cold War and now the US has left, the USSR is no more, let's make a deal with the US because they will kill us. I mean, that is something that India, China, Iran, Pakistan, anyone who had a working brain, that was the conclusion, and that is the education. What we believe is, again, someone who is also educated in an urban environment, in a liberal university, those are the defaults that we are embedded with.
And it's crazy because over the past few years, I've had conversations with Shias even, who have a very like North Korea view of Iran. And by North Korea, I'm not talking about the reality of North Korea, whatever that may be. The caricaturization of North Korea as like some just complete junkyard of a place that everyone on Earth hates. It's just a dystopia. I remember somebody saying that. Somebody said I was a self-hating person for having a negative view of America and a positive view of Iran because I live in America, right? And we were talking, and they were like, "Yeah, no, China is never going to help Iran. Like, America is eventually going to defeat Iran. Like, This was like 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. But it was like, yeah, America's too big to fail. Like, Iran can't do anything. Like, it's over. It's just a matter of time, and then it's game over. And
Ahistorical and irreligious.
ahistorical, right? And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because China has like investments in Iran and this and that, and the world is interconnected. And this person was like, yeah, no, but why would they come and save Iran? Iran's just like, and you can be a Shia, South Asian origin, Muslim, very religious, this and that, but that doesn't prevent you from being mentally colonized. That does not prevent you from being mentally colonized. That does not prevent you from absorbing the latent liberalisms that you will naturally, and that I have picked up too, and that you have, and all of us have picked up through the education. It's the training. It's not
12. We went through it. That's the training.
K through 12 in and outside of school. K through 12 in school, and for the rest of your life, even outside of school, as long as you're in the system, and even outside America.
What you think freedom is?
Yeah.
What you think fun is? You think freedom to. Not freedom from. You talked about this. Freedom to wear something. Freedom to do something, as opposed to freedom from being poor. Freedom from being broke. Freedom from being hungry. No, not that. Freedom to be hungry. Freedom to be poor.
Yeah.
And it's I think that misread exists. We're not able to we can't self-diagnose. It just takes so much to weed out all of the things that I noticed this because when I thought about what to do in the past 2 months, and I really thought out loud, hey, is this a time? I think a lot of minorities across the country in different historical time periods have had this thought. The black community in this country has had this thought about Liberia. Is it time to reverse migrate? And you can oppose that opinion. Say, hey, I don't think it's a good idea. The reason for opposition, if it's, hey, everywhere else is also equally bad and also equally morally repugnant, cope. If you say your standard of living is higher there, I mean, have you been to the grocery store? Have you seen what prices look like? You've seen what it takes to buy a house and what you do after the house, what property taxes look like? Like, what standard of living are we talking about? Or it could be, I don't know, what am I going to do there? I'd rather mop floors for the Navy than do that. My future is here. And it's like, well, your future is mopping floors, actually. I mean, that's what you're stating, right? So it really it speaks to what you're saying. It boggled my mind how you entertain an idea. Like how you entertain someone saying something that might not be conventional wisdom, but it's completely par for the course historically, politically, considering current events, considering your own demographic.
And I think this this incident, right, of the past 2 months this is the best time for you to go back and check your lens through which you look at the world. This is the best time to go and fine-tune whatever misconceptions or misperceptions of the world that you have and of yourself and your place in this world that you have.
I think, so one thing I've been seeing is like, okay, a lot of people have been reflective, right? They've been like reevaluating their view of the world and how they view like the actual political climate of the world, how they view how our role and everything, our meaning the U.S.'s role and everything, right? But historically, we have a very short-term memory.
Yeah.
So while right now we can perceive this sort of political shift, we also know it doesn't take much to like flip back to the status quo, right? Like even with all this Trumpism going on, all these like random things, bro, in 4 years we could easily just forget about all that and be focused on like the same stuff.
Dead while they're alive.
Dead while they're alive. Also, it's always easier to claim someone after they die.
Yeah.
I give the respect of saying I was not with you when you were living, I'm not with you in death.
Yeah.
Right now, the litmus test, before we talked about this, the litmus test used to be politically, not spiritually. Politically, where you stood on Palestine let me determine if you're a comrade or not. And now that litmus test has shifted. And it's not only the Iranian state anymore, or the Iranian, it's not the defense of Iran. if you really subscribe, if you had subscribed prior to and were, or right now you are sympathetic, need consolation because of the events of the past 2 months, the assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei, your litmus test now is your opinion on his son. It's easy to claim the guy and his death, his son. Before we move on to the effects of this on the region and what's been going on, I had pointed this out when Bilal was not here. Bilal got this book by Ayatollah Khamenei. I think the foreword is by Ali Shariati. I don't know if you were able to read it yet.
Not yet.
I think.
Is it a book on where Ayatollah Khamenei is talking about Allama Iqbal's works? Okay, his writings.
His
like a commentary book.
His work, not works. His life and like how what he did, his thought process and his philosophy.
It's Iqbal.
That's the name of the book.
No,
Probably gonna have to speak up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, the book is just about like Iqbal.
Yeah.
It works as him.
Right.
Like, what was
His thought,
what
his
thought process.
Got you.
As a South Asian Shia Muslim who is, I wouldn't say sympathetic, who's one of the pillars of politics is the resistance across the region. I really feel like it's something that will help bring coherence to a question that is asked in any ideology, whether you're a Marxist or Islamist or anything between, capitalist, nationalism. What is the role of nationalism with the formation of the modern nation state? What is the role of nationalism in politics and society? Stalin's book, The National, I think the question of the answer to the nationalist question or something, I'm forgetting the name. That answers it very well from a Marxist lens, and I really think that actually overlaps quite a bit with the solution overall. But this book by Ayatollah Khamenei, I probably read it 10 years ago, 11 years ago. It helps bring coherence to a lot of people have this very primitive, stupid thing about how could I follow Ayatollah Khamenei when he was alive? He's Irani. And it's like, well, you think Rasulullah was from Karachi, dude? Like, what do you mean? Like who do you think? You think the Imam's gonna pull up in like Lahore? These guys are gonna be by default some other race? Who cares about that? Or like you're advocating for a different state's politic. That is a ahistorical perspective simply because statewide politics does not exist. What you do by default affects your neighbors. This is a collective, anything you do is a collective decision.
Right.
Whether you like it or not. Now, obviously there is autonomy, there is sovereignty. If you go back maybe 150, 200 years ago, empires, the default of statehood, of statecraft, those would be empires of kingdoms. Empires, not the HRE, not some fake empire, but like if you go to the Mughal Empire, empire of kingdoms, and those kingdoms have their own little cultures, their own religions, they have their own customs, their own languages at times, and those are completely okay to live side by side. As opposed to the nation state where we've divided up societies into manufactured competition. Really, we've made it a league, and you have to compete for different resources that you could have shared when you lived together. But now it's a zero-sum game by default across the board.
I think the split of the Levant into 4 countries is an example of that. Right now, you see like what's going on in Lebanon, Israel genociding, ethnically cleansing the Shias in Lebanon, and an adversarial political Syria, right? An adversarial Syrian administration, and that used to be one country. I mean, like these modern borders are manufactured to create that phenomenon that you're talking about.